preparing you for it, preparing you for what you might see, providing some vocabulary, okay? So it's sort of a scripted lesson, so we're going to be saying the same things, and you just listen, and it's just basically listening so that you're prepared for our third test that we're going to take. Is to sort of learn how to read a museum schedule, okay? Learn how to read a museum schedule and maybe talk about some ticket prices that we might see at a museum or a sign at a museum. So we're going to get ready for that performance task, and how many of you have ever gone to a museum? Raise your hand if you've ever gone to a museum. Me. What type of museum have you been to? Give me some types of museums. Dane?
Fossil.
Fossil. So a real museum that you have been to. Caleb? An art museum. Lots of art museums. A space or outer space museum or exhibit? Historical museum. We all went there early in the year. And Pussy?
Animal, like they show their bones and stuff, like the dinosaurs that were
Right. So similar to what Dane said, fossils and dinosaur, or maybe just an animal exhibit in itself. Any others? Cameron?
I've been like to a museum like where they study like about like Egyptians.
Yeah, exactly. It exhibits on Egyptians. Tongue twister, right?
Yeah.
Exhibits on Egyptians. All right. And last one, Katie? Rock Museum. You know what that's called? The Geology Museum, right? So there are a lot of museums that kids can go visit. So they have many different things to see and do, right? There are different exhibits and workshops within the museum sometimes, and you can go to different rooms. Exhibits and workshops let people look at sometimes culture, sometimes what happened in the past, right? Anything else?
Nope.
Ivana, no? Lyric? Yep. Also, like, so if you go to a natural history museum, it might have exhibits like we talked about like the history of the earth, history of dinosaurs, like Christy said. All right. So, unfortunately, you're not always able to visit all museum exhibits and workshops, right? Because sometimes you go to a museum and you don't have all the time, or certain museums only have certain times that they have an exhibit or a workshop on display. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to look at a Milwaukee museum, or not Milwaukee, a museum schedule. So look up over at the. So here might be an example of a schedule that you might see posted at a museum. Give it a second to come up. All right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So this might be posted at the museum when you go to visit it.
On the door.
So it will give you each of the names of the workshop, okay, and the length of the workshop. So the name of this workshop is Dinosaur Dig, and it's 45 minutes long. Its start times are different throughout the day. It will start at 8, at 9, at 10, at 1, and at 2. Does everybody see that? Let's look at the next one. The next workshop is called the Tour of Egypt workshop, and it's 90 minutes long to take that tour. Starts at 8:30, then 10:30, and 12:30. And the final workshop at this museum is a steam trains workshop. It's only 30 minutes long. The times that this is scheduled is 9, 10, 11, 12, and 1. So let's look at a chart. This is an example of a schedule that you might find at a real museum, okay? So let's discuss this. So we talked about it, right? Here's the question. I want everybody to look up here, and I want you to think in your head first, and this is where you could jot a few notes if you need to. Here's the question. If you attend the Dinosaur Dig at 8, will you be able to attend the Tour of Egypt at 8:30?
No.
Think about it first. My direction was to think about it first in your head. Maybe jot a note or write something down if you need to help figure it out. So if you attend the Dinosaur Dig at 8, and can you attend the Tour of Egypt at 8:30? What do you think?
No.
Who has an idea? You can shout it out. What do you think?
No.
Okay, if you say no, tell me why you think no. Meadow, nice and loud.
Because Dinosaur Dig is 45 minutes long, and if it starts at 8, then you don't get out at 8:45. So you wouldn't be able to make it in time at 8:30 because it takes too long for the Dinosaur Dig.
Okay, so what would be the next time you could go to the tour of Egypt?
9 o'clock.
The 10:30 one, right? Because there is no 9 o'clock offer, see? So you have to carefully look at each of the offerings, the start times, the length of the workshop, and the start times, all right? Another thing you need to consider when you visit a museum is the cost of the workshops. So some museums make you pay for individual tickets, right, to see a workshop or to go to an exhibit, and others sometimes give you a season pass or a day pass, okay? So let's look at some examples of ticket prices. Has anyone seen something like this at a museum?
Yeah.
Okay, so this would be an example if you first looked at the schedule of the workshop and the start times, then you might see ticket prices. Okay, so to see a dinosaur dig, $3. Tour of Egypt is $1, and steam trains $2. Easy to read. Okay. Alright. So today we have talked about visiting museums, reading schedules for museums, and the price of the workshops at museums. These ideas may help you when you complete your performance task after recess. Okay? Are there any questions about how to read a chart, a schedule at a museum, or the ticket price schedule? All right, we will do the Space Museum task later using this information.
Space Museum